The new room at the transport ship groaned as it touched down on the remote moon campus of Varellan Academy. Dust rose like gold smoke under twin suns. Liam Grayson stepped off, backpack slung over one shoulder, his boots crunching on the metallic landing ramp. He didn't expect much, just a quiet scholarship semester at a distant interspecies university where nobody knew him. No drama, no attention, just study, graduate, disappear. That was the plan. What he didn't expect was the girl already lying on the other side of his dorm bed. He opened the door to his new shared quarters and froze. There, on the right-hand bed, curled under a thin silver blanket, was an alien girl. Not just any alien. She had iridescent skin like liquid pearl, faintly glowing patterns dancing across her arms and temples. Her long hair shimmered with blues and greens, flowing like soft waves even though the room was still. She looked asleep, peaceful. She opened one eye. "You're late," she said in a low, musical voice. "I thought I was the first one assigned here." Liam stammered. "No, I was approved first," she said flatly. "I needed sanctuary. They fast-tracked me." Liam frowned. "Sanctuary?" She didn't answer right away. Then finally, she sat up slowly and said, "From my kind." Liam didn't press. He just nodded and started unpacking, but he noticed how her eyes tracked him, as if memorizing every move, not with fear but calculation. And maybe something softer. Her name was Kelry. She never said her last name, just Kelry. She didn't talk much, but when she did, it was clipped, precise, like she'd trained herself to strip emotion from every syllable. Still, there was something underneath, something watching, waiting. Liam could feel it like a pulse between them, especially at night. The second night, Liam was already dozing off when he heard her whisper, "You twitch when you dream." He sat up. "You watching me?" "Only when I hear you speak out loud. You say strange things in your sleep." "What kind of things?" Kelry hesitated. "You said, 'Don't leave me again.'" Liam stared at the ceiling. "Right, that." She turned away. "It means you carry wounds." He sighed. "Don't we all?" Silence fell again, but it wasn't cold. It hummed like the room itself held its breath. The next evening they passed each other in the hallway. As they brushed shoulders, a strange flicker of warmth passed between them like static, but softer. Liam flinched. Kelry stopped walking and touched her chest. "Did you feel that too?" "Yeah." "What was that?" "Not sure," she said, eyes narrowing. "Maybe interference. Or maybe not." The night after that, Liam stayed up late working. Around midnight, he dozed off in his desk chair. Hours later, he stirred. Something heavy was pressing on his chest. Disoriented, he opened his eyes and nearly yelled. Kelry was lying on top of him. Her limbs trembled. Her skin glowed faintly like starlight through glass. She wasn't moving by choice, she was barely conscious. "Kelry," Liam shouted, trying not to jostle her too hard. "What's happening?" she mumbled. "Too much heat. Can't regulate." Her breathing was shallow, skin damp with some kind of radiant sweat. Strange, glowing veins pulsed down her arms and neck. "I need contact," she whispered. "I'm not sick, I'm reacting." "To what?" Her eyes opened slightly. "You." Liam froze. "What does that mean?" Kelry closed her eyes. "My kind doesn't bond easily. But when we do, it's not with permission. It happens. When we're not looking." He looked down at her heart, pounding. "So you're saying we're bonded?" "I felt your dream 3 nights in a row. I didn't mean to. But now my body is changing. It thinks you're part of me. And if I resist, what happens?" She shivered violently. "It will burn me from inside." Without another word, Liam pulled the blanket around both of them and gently wrapped his arms around her. She gasped. The lines on her skin flared once, then faded. Her breathing slowed. Her body relaxed. "Better," he whispered. "Warmer." She replied faintly. "Safe." He stayed like that for nearly an hour, afraid to move. She didn't let go, not even when the red glow under her skin faded entirely. When she finally pulled away, she looked embarrassed. "You're not supposed to touch us during heat reaction. It's considered intimate." "You were dying," he said simply. "I didn't care about rules." She looked at him for a long time, then said, "That might be why the bond chose you." That night, Kelry sat at the window, legs tucked under her as the twin moons rose. Liam sat nearby, pretending to read but really watching her. Her hair shimmered in the moonlight like strands of nebula. He couldn't tell if she looked more like a warrior or a ghost. "You said you were granted sanctuary," he said. Why? Kelry didn't look away from the sky. "Because I refused to fight the way they wanted. I didn't want to become a weapon, so I ran." "And they let you go?" "No. They let me hide, but only for a while." Her voice cracked slightly on the last word. Liam leaned forward. "Do they know you're here?" Kelry nodded once. "And now they know about the bond. They'll come." He felt a chill in the air. What will they do to me? They won't hurt you. She paused. Not unless I choose you. What? Kelry turned slowly, meeting his eyes. If I claim you, they'll try to take you back, or take me away. They'll think it's corruption. He stood, walked over, and sat beside her. And what do you think it is? He asked. She looked at him, a flicker of fear and hope in her expression. Think, she said softly. You're the first person I've ever wanted to stay. Liam reached out and gently took her hand, her fingers curled around his instinctively. Outside, the moons shimmered, but far beyond them, in the silence of deep space, a signal had already been sent, a ship had already changed course, and it bore the mark of a father who had not forgiven betrayal. The eyes in the star skellery didn't sleep that night, or maybe she did, but not in the way humans did. Liam noticed how still she became sitting against the window frame, eyes half-lidded, fingers slowly tracing a glowing symbol across her palm. It pulsed once, faded, then began again, like some coded rhythm only she could understand. Liam tried to stay up with her, asking questions she never answered, but eventually, fatigued one, he fell asleep, heart heavy with a strange cocktail of curiosity, concern, and something deeper, something that felt like a connection etched into the marrow of his bones. That when he woke the next morning, Kelry was gone. Her bed was empty, the blanket folded with surgical precision. The room felt colder, and not just because the environmental unit had flicked on. There was a void in the air, an absence of presence. He checked the corridor, the common mess, even the little meditation garden upstairs that she liked. Nothing. But when he returned to the room, he noticed something she left behind, a shard of crystal no bigger than a thumbnail glowing faintly on his pillow. It hummed in his palm like a heartbeat, not hers. His dot, he knew, instinctively. It was a tracker, not for location, but for emotion. She was watching, listening, or trying to, and she wanted him to know that hours passed. Then a warning siren rang through the dorm complex. Not red alert, but amber caution. A foreign vessel had entered restricted orbit. The Terran security system flagged it as Zenthari class. Liam's chest went tight. Zenthari, Kelry's species. She hadn't been lying. They had found her. Down in the secure communications center, officers scrambled. The military liaison shouted updates. The station's AI announced proximity warnings, and yet the Zenthari ship never fired. It just hovered, watching, broadcasting. A silent signal on a private frequency. They weren't here to attack, they were here to extract. Kelry returned just before midnight, slipping through the door like a shadow. Liam stood from his bed instantly. Where the hell have you been? She looked tired, her glow dimmed. Her eyes were dull, rimmed with gray. I had to see, she whispered. Had to know if they'd really come for me, you mean? They're here because of us. She nodded. The bond had triggered an ancestral recall beacon. It marked me as defective. Liam blinked. Wait, defective. Kelry paced slowly, her steps uncertain. We're not meant to form bonds outside our kind. Our genetics, our biochemistry, it's not stable when we do. The old instincts wake up. Bonds like this, cross-species bonds, they're considered a threat. A threat to what? He asked. To purity, she said. To tradition. To control. Liam felt heat rise in his chest. So they're just here to what? Drag you back, recondition you. Worse, she said. They'll erase me, quietly, as if I never existed. He stepped closer. Then we tell the humans, the security officers. Someone, no, she said quickly. They won't understand, not in time. So what? We just wait. She stared up at him, her expression unreadable. Then, softly, I didn't fall on you by accident that night. He froze. What do you mean? Kelry looked down. The bond didn't just happen. I felt it earlier. In the garden, when I touched the tree and you walked past, I felt your aura like a gravity well, and I knew I could let it happen. I could lean in, or walk away. Her voice dropped. I didn't walk away. Liam sat down slowly. The air around them pulsed, thick with quiet meaning. I don't care what they think, he said after a long silence. You're not a threat. You're you. You make me feel less alone. Kelry sat beside him. Her shoulder barely touched his, but it was enough to cause the crystal in his pocket to glow again. She noticed. You kept it. I didn't know how to turn it off. You weren't supposed to. That night, Liam dreamt of fire, of alien stars collapsing in on themselves, of ships like knives carving through the sky, of a voice, Kelry's voice, calling him across impossible distances. He woke sweating, and she was there, sitting at the edge of his bed, staring at the door. They sent a scout tonight, she said. I saw it on the roof. He blinked. How did it get through security? Xanthari ships don't need permission. They use frequency-matching light cloaks. Invisible, unless you're born to see them. Did they see you? I let them, she whispered. Kelri, I needed them to know that I wasn't hiding anymore. He stared at her, breath caught in his throat. You're provoking them. I'm choosing, she said simply. If I keep running, I'll always be afraid. If I stand still, maybe they'll listen, or maybe they'll kill me, but at least it'll be my decision. Liam stood up, fists clenched. Then I'm standing with you. Kelri looked up sharply. That's dangerous. So are you, he said, and I'm not afraid of you. Her glow pulsed slightly, the faintest smile curling her lips. Then there's no turning back now. Outside the dormitory, on the horizon, the sky rippled. A Xanthari beacon flared in the clouds. Like a tear in reality, the extraction team had landed, and they were coming, but so was something else. Something older, something hidden and blood long dormant, long forbidden. The bond had awakened more than just her instincts. It had awakened a buried legacy, one that would soon show the galaxy what a defect truly looked like. The defect awakens. The warning came at dawn, not from alarms or official broadcasts, but from the shadows. A single bird-like drone crashed just outside the Academy gardens, its metallic wings twitching before they stilled. Security bots responded, within seconds cordoning off the area, but Kelri didn't flinch. She stood barefoot on the balcony, her skin faintly pulsing in the early light. Her eyes locked on the horizon where the drone had fallen. They're not here to retrieve me anymore, she said softly. Liam stood beside her, trying to follow her gaze. Then what are they here for? She turned, voice flat. You. He blinked. Me. They've marked you as compromised. Anyone bound to a rogue Xanthari is considered infected. Infected with what? Kelri looked down at her, hand's choice. The Academy fell into lockdown by midday. Classes were suspended. Windows darkened. The virulent AI activated emergency shield protocols. But they were ceremonial at best. This moon campus was supposed to be neutral ground. No one ever expected a Xanthari ship to land here, let alone without diplomatic clearance. Liam paced the room while Kelri sat at the edge of her bed, fingers glowing as she carved symbols into the metal frame with alarming precision. He recognized the language, now her people's ancestral tongue, a mix of light and energy, like biology turned into script. What are you doing? He asked. Preparing, she said. For what? Kelri paused. For war, or something worse. Liam sat down across from her. There has to be another way. Can't we just talk to someone, get off the moon, go somewhere they can't reach? There's nowhere like that, she replied. Not for me, not for us. A long silence passed before she added, but I might have one chance. Liam leaned forward. What kind of chance? Kelri's eyes shimmered. My bloodline wasn't ordinary. My father, before he became a high commander, was bonded to a Tyrone. Liam froze. Wait, a human, Kelri nodded. It nearly cost him everything. The council stripped him of his memories, wiped his lineage records, claimed his mate died in an accident. But you're his daughter. I was born in secrecy, raised as a soldier. They let me live because they didn't think it would activate in me. Liam looked at her closely, but it did. She nodded. With you, he stood, running a hand through his hair. Then this bond. It's not just some chemical thing, it's legacy, it's evolution. Kelri's fingers paused mid. It's rebellion. That night, the Xanthari made contact. Not through officials, not through threats, through dreams. Liam awoke choking, his chest tight, heart racing. He had seen them, tall, elegant beings in armor made of memory and flame. They had no eyes, but he felt their gaze like blades. They stood in a circle, and, in the center, Kelri lay on her knees, glowing with guilt and fear. Behind her, a shadow pointed at him. Liam's voice echoing through the void. You are unmade. Release her, or be unmade too. He gasped, awake. Kelri was already beside him. They reached you, she said. It wasn't a question. He nodded. They want me gone. They won't stop at dreams. She took his hand, and the crystal in his pocket pulsed, once then shattered silently, like glass dissolving into stardust. The bond is irreversible now, she whispered. They know that. Good, Liam said through clenched teeth. Let them come. Kelri looked at him as if seeing something new, not just a roommate, not just a human, but a partner. By the next evening, they were summoned to the central atrium. A delegation had arrived. 3 Xanthari stood like statues draped in liquid metal cloaks. Their presence warped the air around them, bending light and space. One stepped forward, taller than the rest, with a silver scar that ran down his jaw and across one of his collar ridges. His voice didn't come from his mouth. It echoed directly. In Liam's skull. You carry something not meant for you. Liam stood tall. She's not a possession. The Zenthari's tone sharpened. She is marked. She is ours. Kelry stepped in front of him. I choose him. Gasps echoed from nearby students and officers watching from balconies. The Zenthari turned their attention to her. Then you are no longer Zenthari. Her glow intensified, golden lines rising up her neck and across her face like a crown of living fire. I've never felt more Zenthari than I do right now, she said. Then the leader reached out his hands low, deliberate, and pointed at Liam. He must fall. Kelry didn't move, and then it happened. Liam's breath caught as his body lifted from the ground, an invisible force pressing down on his spine, his chest, his throat. He gasped, eyes bulging. Kelry screamed. But it wasn't fear, it was command. Shockwave erupted from her corporeal light that shattered the marble tiles beneath her feet and cracked the walls of the atrium. The energy wrapped around Liam, shielding him like armor. The Zenthari stumbled back. The leader reeled, clutching his own chest. Kelry's voice thundered not with sound, but with force. He is mine. And in that moment, Liam knew she wasn't just a soldier or a runaway. She was a beacon, the first of her kind, to not just defy the old ways, but to awaken a power hidden for generations. A birthright that wasn't meant to dominate, but protect. Kelry turned, helping Liam to his feet. They'll come again stronger, he coughed, eyes wide. What are you? She looked at him, her glow now golden and steady. I'm the first anomaly, she whispered. And you are the key to unlocking all of us. Outside the sky tour again, dozens of vessels now appeared, some Zenthari, others, unfamiliar. Watching, waiting. And deep in space, something older stirred, something that remembered the last time a bond like this changed everything. The price of bonding. The skies didn't roar. They shimmered. As the cloaked vessels broke into full view, sunlight refracted off their polished hulls like silent warnings. The Academy's atmospheric shield buzzed faintly under the strain. Drones hovered in tighter formations. Students were ordered indoors. Professors whispered about war, but it wasn't war. Not yet, not with Kelry still standing. She and Liam were escorted to the Chancellor's private observatory, an old dome built from crystal steel and raw stone, nestled above the learning towers. It was supposed to be a place for peace, meditation, and higher thought, but now, it was a bunker for decisions that couldn't wait. Chancellor Doval, a centenarian Terran with holographic eyes, studied the alien fleet through his panoramic lens. You stirred a galactic hornet's nest, Miss Kelry, he muttered, turning toward her. And you, Mr. Grayson, you bonded without clearance, without protocol. Do you even understand what you've done? Liam's fists clenched. I saved her. Kelry placed a hand gently on his arm. It was mutual. The Chancellor turned away. The Zenthari claim you're triggering a forbidden convergence. Do you know what that means? Kelry nodded. They're afraid of the Anima Code. Doval froze. The myth. No. The lock. Buried within every Zenthari who carries Terran genetic resonance. A bond like ours can trigger it. If it opens, the Hive Code falls. The Hive Code? Liam asked. Kelry turned toward him, her expression solemn. It's what links them all. A hidden command line buried in their DNA. One they obey without even knowing. Until now, Liam's mind reeled. So, this bond can break them free. Kelry nodded, but it has a cost. Hours later, they were alone again. Kelry stood at the edge of the balcony as artificial rain streaked down the outer dome. Her skin glowed dimly now, barely a pulse left. Liam walked up behind her. Tell me, he said softly, what's the cost? Kelry didn't answer right away. Then, once the bond reaches resonance, the Hive Code destabilizes. It sends a failsafe, not to me, to you. He frowned. To me, her eyes shimmered. The Zenthari designed it long ago for Terran bonds too deeply. The failsafe triggers neural decay. Slowly, quietly. It eats away at you until your bondmate dies or severs it voluntarily. Liam's throat tightened. So, if we stay bonded, it die, she whispered. Eventually. Unless we find the root code and rewrite it. And where is that code? She looked up at the distant fleet. On their ship. In their Coramine archive. Liam laughed bitterly. Great, so we just sneak aboard a Zenthari flagship, find their god machine and hack it. Easy. Kelry smiled. No, we don't sneak. We invite them. The next day, Kelry issued a formal challenge. In ancient Zenthari culture, X were allowed one right to prove worth. The tri-vow duel, not a battle of weapons but of will, memory, and unity. The challenge would force the council to appear in person, bind their minds temporarily to truth protocols, and listen to the bonded speak that had not been invoked in over 5 centuries. But Kelry's father had whispered of it in old dream songs, and now she would resurrect it. The duel would take place on sacred neutral ground, the Obsidian Steppes, a basalt plateau that hovered in Ziragi above the canyon storms of Viro's Delta, a place where light bent differently, where time slowed, where lies could not survive. Liam stood by her as the ceremony began. Kelry wore no armor, only a long dark robe woven from memory fabric. Her glow now pulsed, not just beneath her skin but from within her chest, where the bond link tethered her to Liam in threads of gold. He felt it like a heartbeat in his bones. Opposite them, 3 Zenthari High Elders materialized, neural helms embedded in their skulls, robes shimmering with ancestral data. A 4th stood among them, taller than all. Her father. Kelry's breath caught. He was older, scarred, and his glow was dim, chained, but his eyes widened when he saw her, and something broke through the mental fog. My daughter, he whispered. Kelry stepped forward. You once defied them. Bonded to a Terran. I am your legacy, one of the elders hissed. That legacy is poison. Liam took Kelry's hand. Then drink deep. The duel began. First was the echo a memory test. Kelry opened her mind to them, showing her childhood, her exile, her longing. She'll let them see Liam, hear his laughter, feel his pain, watch him dive into her fever sweat to save her life. The elders wavered but did not yield. Next was the threader bond test. Kelry and Liam were tethered with a harmonic cord. If their emotions faltered, the cord would snap. The Zenthari flooded the arena with illusions, Kelry's worst fears, Liam's darkest memories, fake deaths, betrayals, but they held on. Every lie failed against one truth. They had chosen each other freely. Finally came the vow, a sacrifice to complete the rite. One of them had to give something permanent. Kelry stepped forward. I give my name, she said. Let the strike it from the archives. Let history forget me, but remember him, and remember this bond. The elders flinched. Then her father stepped forward. I remember, he said, and so do others. Behind him, the fleet shimmered again, and dozens of lesser ships cloaked in silence, piloted by exile born like Kale, RI-decloaked. Each bore a symbol burned into their hull, the sigil of a broken chain wrapped in starlight. New faction. Born in secret. Now revealed. The council staggered. The duel complete. The right one. Later that night, back in the observatory, Liam sat by the window, watching the Zenthari fleet retreat. Kelry walked in slowly, skin glowing with the soft gold of a completed bond. We broke something today, he said. We freed something, she corrected. He looked at her, and the failsafe. She held out a small orb. Your neural decay protocol, extracted from their archive, deactivated. You stole it. I earned it. Liam took the orb and smiled. Then, gently, she sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. You still snore, she whispered. He laughed. You still fall on me in your sleep, she grinned. Maybe I meant to. Outside the dome, stars swirled like fireflies on a tide, and in deep space, others watched. Other species, other bonds. Because for the first time in centuries, a Terran and a Zenthari had changed the rules. Starlight Rebellion word traveled faster than light, faster even than the ships that carried it. Across back channels and encrypted data webs, the name Kelry became more than a forgotten daughter, more than an anomaly. She became a spark, a living defiance, the bonded girl who invoked an ancient right and won, the human who didn't die. The Council's first public defeat in over 900 years, and far from Viro's Delta, from the Obsidian Steppes, the universe began to shift. Entire enclaves of Zenthari-born exiles awakened to memories long suppressed. Neural blocks cracked, forbidden, instincts surfaced. Those who had once glimpsed herons and felt something, they now had proof they weren't broken, they were becoming. The chain of obedience began to rust, but while hope bloomed in shadows, vengeance moved in silence. The Council hadn't fallen, it had recoiled. They retreated from public view, issuing a formal decree labeling Kelry and Liam as biological anomalies under containment threat. A polite way of saying, kill on sight if outside Terran protection, the Chancellor warned. Them both. I've held them back so far, he said in a closed-door meeting, but I'm out of favors. Diplomats from the allied worlds are starting to whisper that you two might be worth sacrificing to keep peace. Kelry looked unimpressed. Peace built on control is war in slow motion. Dovel sighed. That may be true, but understand something, you've changed the game. That means the board wants to erase you. Kelry and Liam didn't stay on the moon. They COULDN, single quotes T. With the help of her father's allies. They slipped aboard a smuggling cruiser bound for the outer reach, a lawless zone where the Council's grip was weakest and data moved like wildfire. Their destination, a place called Hollow Spire. An ancient Zenthari research station buried in the rings of a shattered planet, long abandoned, rumored to house pre-council data structures, ones that might explain why bonds like theirs were feared in the first place. Liam stared at the station through the viewing deck as their ship approached. It looks like a dying cathedral, he murmured. Kale. R.I. nodded. That's what it is, a cathedral for forgotten truths. Inside Hollow Spire, the silence was alive. Echoes of machines long dead still hummed in the walls. Magnetic dust floated like snow in the corridors, and deep in its core, beyond rusted doors and ancient scanners, lay the thing they had come for. Root Archive, a living server, organic, pulsing, older than the current council itself. Kelry touched it, and it awakened, not with light, but with memory. Images burst into the air, floating projections of early Zenthari, standing beside humans, laughing, fighting, loving. In the beginning they were not rivals, they were allies, built for mutual evolution, designed, it seemed, to integrate, to bond, to become more together than either species could alone. But then came the schism. The elders, afraid of unpredictability, of losing control, fractured the genome. They seeded failsafes, rewrote instincts, and buried the archive. The council was never a guardian of culture, it was a gatekeeper of fear. Kelry collapsed to her knees. They weren't protecting us from humans, they were protecting themselves from change. Liam stared at the archive, a chill crawling down his back. But now it's too late. What neither of them saw was the tracer, planted on their ship. Before they left, the moment the archive pulsed to life, the council's assassin ship dropped from hyperspace. No warnings, no ultimatums, only weapons, hot. They fired a pulse disruptor meant to erase memory engrams across an entire biological system, a fate worse than death, a forgetting. But the archive fought back. Kelry stood, eyes burning, arms outstretched. The memory fields flared. A wall of ancestral energy surged through the station, and Liam, standing in the epicenter, saw it all. 1,000 bonds, 1,000,000 faces, forgotten names. He became the memory, and in doing so, he woke something dormant inside himself. When he opened his eyes, the assassin ship was gone, vaporized. The archive was silent again, but Kelry stood wide, lips trembling. Liam, she whispered. He looked at her. I saw them, all of them. She stepped forward slowly. You spoke in the old tongue. How? I don't know, he said. It just came. I understood them. Kelry placed her hand on his chest. Her glow fused with his. Their bond was no longer a thread. It was a core. You're not just bonded anymore, she whispered. You're a carrier. He blinked. What does that mean? It means the archive chose you. You are the new root. From that day forward, Liam wasn't just human. He was something more. Messages from the stars started coming, not words, but resonance signatures, echoes of other hybrids waking up across the galaxy. Children of forbidden unions, soldiers turned rebels, exiles rising from shadows. Kelry and Liam became myths, and then symbols. The council banned their images, erased records, denied everything. But rebellion doesn't need permission, it only needs a spark, and two people, daring to fall asleep beside each other, and not pull away when the world tells them to. A human heart, a starborn mind. The days passed like falling stars, brilliant, and too fast. Kelry and Liam became fugitives in name, but heroes in spirit. Word of their defiance and survival after Hollow Spire ignited not only among exiled Zenthari, but among humans scattered across deep space. Miners, traders, diplomats, outlaws, anyone who had ever questioned why peace always came with chains. The bonded couple were no longer a story, they were a movement. They traveled in secret aboard a refurbished archive ship, the Lucent Veil, its bones half organic, its controls responding more to thought than touch. Liam now carried the genetic encryption of the ancient root archive within him, a legacy not just of memory but of awakening. Kelry had begun to call him the Mind-Bearer. Not even the council dared speak that term out loud, because if the legend of the root archive were true, if a human could hold the ancestral memories of both species in harmony, it would not just dismantle control systems, it would rewrite evolution itself. They arrived at the Drift Markets, a space station carved from the wreckage of 10 war-era vessels fused together. There, deep in the Outliers, they met with a former Zenthari code priest named Velek. He wasn't like Kelry's people. His skin was cracked from chemical stims, his memory patterns flickered, but his mind, still sharp enough to understand the impossible when he saw it. You bonded naturally, Velek whispered as he scanned Liam's biofield. No forced synchronization, no neural grafting. The resonance isn't artificial, it's organic. Kelry nodded. and permanent. Velik's fingers trembled. That means, you bypassed the Council's last firewall. He turned to Liam. If you enter the Synapse Gate, the entire hidden memory net might recognize you as valid. You could unlock the obelisk. Liam blinked. The Wat Kelry's glow dimmed slightly. The obelisk is the original seed code of Zen civilization, a neural relic, long lost, said to house the unedited truths about both our species before the division. Velik leaned in. It's not lost, it's hidden. The obelisk sat on a dead planet named Aronin, officially listed as culturally restricted. Its orbit guarded by ancient drones and psychic traps. No one had landed there in centuries. Until now. The lucent veil shimmered into its atmosphere, shielded by Velik's forged council codes and the signal of Liam's resonance signature. As they descended, the clouds parted not from heat or energy, but recognition. The planet remembered. On the surface, the obelisk stood monolithic, nearly a kilometer high, humming with a language neither binary nor vocal. It pulsed in beats. Like a heart. Kelry approached first, but the obelisk didn't respond. Then Liam stepped forward. The structure flared, not with light, but with memory. Waves of history burst around them. Projections of early human explorers shaking, hands with Zenthari elders. Genetic codes exchanged willingly, cultures blending, not clashing, a great unity forming between the stars. Then the split, not caused by war, but by fear. Fear that the bond between Terrans and Zenthari would erase identity, fear that evolution would be uncontrollable. So they sealed the truth, locked it behind myth, and bred generations of obedience. Liam reached out and touched the obelisk, and it opened. Inside was not a room, but a neural stream like a river made of time. Kelry and Liam stood within it, seeing thousands of versions of themselves across dimensions and timelines. Some failed, some perished, but in each there was one common thread, the moment of choice. Kelry looked at him. This is our thread. Liam nodded. So let's pull it. He spoke into the stream. No more lies, no more chains. The stream rippled. Then cracked. Across the galaxy, every bonded hybrid, hidden or unknown, felt it. A jolt in the brainstem, a memory surfacing. Forgotten names, suppressed instincts, sudden understanding. Even on Earth, certain individuals began to dream of stars and crystal-skinned lovers they had never met. And on the outer rim, Zenthari soldiers in mid-mission collapsed, clutching their chests as ancestral memories exploded. Within them, the hive code broke. Not all at once, but enough. The Council responded with fury. They declared Liam a biological weapon. Kelry was labeled a traitor, queen, and a bounty the size of a planetary GDP was placed on their heads. Their enemies came in waves: cyborg hunters, silence monks, even hired Terran tacticians who once swore to uphold neutrality. But Liam and Kelry were no longer prey. They had become symbols. They began recruiting not fighters but connectors, those who could spread memory, teach resonance, awaken the dormant code inside others. A network was born. Whispers called it the Veilborn Accord, and within months, dozens of worlds were no longer loyal to the Council. One night, after disabling a bounty fleet with nothing but a pulse wave of shared memory, Liam collapsed. Kelry held him in her arms, panic rising. His skin glowed to bright. His heart raced out of sync. She scanned him. The archive within had grown. Too large. You're changing, she said, voice trembling. He nodded weakly. I think I'm becoming more memory than man. Tears welled in her eyes. Then I'll find the balance. He smiled faintly. That's why I fell asleep next to you in the first place. She laughed through tears. Because I radiated calm. No, he whispered. Because you always fall on me in your sleep. She kissed his forehead. Then let's build a new galaxy before we run out of stars. Outside, the universe cracked again, not from war, but from awakening. The Dawn Protocol, the galaxy no longer turned on the same axis. Where once the Council's iron grip defined borders and truth, now uncertainty rippled through the stars, but so did hope. As Kelry and Liam moved quietly between systems, their bond had done more than inspire rebels. It had ignited evolution. Hundreds of Veilborn had awakened humans and Zenthari hybrids who could now feel ancestral echoes, relive suppressed memories, even manipulate neural code through shared resonance. Entire sleeper cells activated. Generations of forced obedience snapped like brittle vines. But not everyone welcomed the change. The Council, driven into hiding, began unleashing a last resort. Project Amnesia. Project Amnesia was the Council's ultimate fallback, a network of AI-driven pulses designed to disrupt hybrid minds and erase the collective bond memory across any planet it reached. It wasn't a weapon of death, it was a weapon of forgetting, and it had already activated on 3 border worlds in mere hours. Once awakened, Veilburn reverted to silence. Parents forgot children, lovers turned into strangers, entire resistance. Cells stared at one another as if waking from a dream they could no longer describe. Kelry watched the footage in horror. "They're not trying to fight us," she said. "They're trying to erase us." Liam, pale and tired, still glowing, with unstable archive energy, looked away. "We don't have much time." Velek, the code priest, who had helped them find the obelisk, appeared via secure uplink. "There's one way," he said gravely. "It's called the Dawn Protocol." Kelry narrowed her eyes. "A counterpulse, more," Velek said. "A planetary seeding wave. You take the obelisk's full resonance, archive every memory, every bond, every forgotten truth, and unleash it across known space." Liam's voice was weak. "That would turn every carrier into a beacon." Velek nodded yes, "but it requires a source." They both turned to Liam. The mind-bearer, the one the archive had chosen. Kelry stepped between them. "No, his body is already failing. If we overload him, he'll ascend," Velek said. "Or burn out," she snapped. Liam stood. "No, I choose this." They traveled to an ancient starforge on the edge of the Vega Drift, once used to construct the neural weapons of the last galactic war. It now sat dormant, its pulse drives dead, its guardians long gone. But the forge still held what they needed. The spiral Corin amplifier created to spread machine thought across dozens of star systems. Kelry reprogrammed it. Velek inserted the archive seed code, and Liam walked into the core, his body no longer just flesh and blood, but a vessel of living memory. Kelry followed him to the edge of the chamber. She touched his face. "You'll forget me," she whispered. "That's what they all say about this kind of ascension." He smiled, eyes glowing. "No," he said. "I'll remember everything. That's the point." She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "I love you," she said. He leaned in close. "You fell on me in your sleep, remember?" She laughed through tears. "That's not romantic. It was for me." And then he stepped into the light. The spiral core activated. The station trembled. Across the stars, every Veilborn felt ita heat behind the eyes, a flutter in the chest, a memory long buried pushing to the surface. Children who'd never seen Earth suddenly remembered lullabies in Terran tongues. Elder Xanthari collapsed, weeping as they spoke names they hadn't dared utter in centuries. And then across the stars Liam's voice echoed, not in sound, in feeling. "We were never meant to fear each other. We were meant to grow together. I was just a boy in a dorm room. She was an exile hiding from her own kind. We didn't mean to start a rebellion, we just shared a bed and a dream. Now you remember. Now you decide." The Dawn Protocol had fired, and history unraveled, but also it began. In the years that followed, the galaxy transformed. The Council never recovered. The Veilborn Accord became the foundation for a new alliance, one that didn't just include humans and Xanthari, but other species who had long feared their own hybridity. Resonance schools opened. Memory temples rose. The obelisk was moved to neutral space, where pilgrims came not to worship but to remember. And she never left the Starforge. She remained as guardian, as teacher, and as the anchor, because though Liam had dispersed into the network of all living memory, his presence remained strongest near her. Sometimes, when the wind shifted in the halls, she heard his laugh. Sometimes, when she dozed off at the edge of the forge, she dreamed of falling asleep on a narrow bunk, and rolling over onto something warm and steady. And every time she woke up, heart racing, tears in her eyes, she whispered the same words, "I still fall on you, in my sleep, and somewhere, in the stars." He always smiled back,